I'm sitting here looking at a brokerage statement from 2019, and I can almost feel the phantom anxiety of that moment. I had $4,200 sitting in an account that was doing absolutely nothing, and I was terrified to click buy because I was convinced I was going to pick the wrong ticker symbol and lose it all. I didn't know the difference between a total stock market index fund and an S&P 500 ETF, and that paralyzing confusion cost me at least 3 years of compound growth that I'm never getting back. You're likely feeling that same itch right now, the desperate need to start building wealth, but the fear of making a permanent, expensive mistake keeps you frozen in a high-yield savings account or, worse, just leaving your money in a checking account where inflation eats it alive. By the time we're done here, you'll understand the one technical difference between index funds and ETFs that actually changes how you set up your portfolio, and you'll know exactly which one fits your specific personality, whether you're a set-it-and-forget-it investor or someone who likes to watch the ticker move. I once helped a friend who was drowning in $32,000 of credit card debt realize that she was losing $600 a month to interest, and the only reason she was stuck was that she thought investing was only for people who understood high-frequency trading. It's not. It's just math. Let's make that math work for you, starting with the one secret that financial advisors usually gloss over. First, let's clear the air. Index funds and ETFs are both just baskets of stocks. You buy one share, and you suddenly own hundreds or thousands of companies. It's like buying a grocery store bag full of ingredients instead of picking out individual carrots and onions. That's the similarity. But here is the mechanism that defines the difference. Mutual funds, which most index funds are, trade only once per day. When the market closes at 4 p.m. Eastern, that's when the price is calculated, and that's when your order executes. If you hit buy at 10 a.m., you don't actually know exactly what price you're getting until hours later. ETFs, on the other hand, trade like stocks. You can buy them at 9:31 a.m., 12:15 p.m., or 3:59 p.m. They have real-time pricing. Why does this matter to you? It's about accessibility and automation. If you're like me and you struggle with the temptation to tinker with your money, that real-time pricing of an ETF can actually be a trap. I've seen people get stuck staring at their phone, watching the price dip by 3 cents, and letting that emotional volatility ruin their long-term plan. If you're the type of person who needs to remove the emotion, the once-a-day pricing of an index mutual fund is your best friend. It forces you to be a passive investor. You set the transfer, you walk away, and you don't look at the ticker. If you're the type of person who wants to be fully in control, or you're moving money around between different brokerage platforms, the ETF offers that liquidity. But, and this is a big but, liquidity is usually the enemy of long-term wealth building. Think about the psychological toll of a market dip. If you're holding an ETF, you can see your balance drop by $400 in real time, right before your eyes. That's a visceral, ugly feeling. It triggers the sell instinct. But if you're using a traditional index fund, that update is essentially invisible during the day. By the time you check, the market might have already recovered. For most people working a 9-to-5, this delayed gratification actually protects you from your own worst impulses. I know it sounds counterintuitive to choose the slower tool, but when you're building wealth on a normal salary, you aren't trading for pennies, you're investing for decades. Let's talk about the barrier to entry, because this is where the math gets real for the person just starting out. Many traditional index funds, especially the older ones from major institutions, have minimum investment requirements. You might need $3,000 just to open the account. That's a massive hurdle for someone who is currently clawing their way out of credit card debt. ETFs, however, have no minimums. You can buy a single share for $50, $100, or even less if your broker allows fractional shares. If you're currently putting $50 a month toward your future while juggling medical bills, the ETF is your only realistic path. You don't need thousands of dollars to start, you just need to start. If that just clicked for you, the realization that you don't need a massive lump sum to get in the game, hit the like button. It tells me to keep breaking down these barriers. Now, consider the tax efficiency. ETFs are generally more tax efficient in taxable brokerage accounts because of how they handle internal transactions. If you're investing inside a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA or a 401k, this doesn't matter at all, both will grow tax-free. But if you're building wealth in a standard brokerage account because you've already maxed out your retirement space, the ETF is going to give you a slightly better edge over the long run. I once looked at a portfolio that saved nearly $2,400 over a 10-year period simply by switching from a high-turnover mutual fund to a low-cost, tax-efficient ETF. That's not get rich quick. That's don't give your money to the IRS unnecessarily. Wait, hold on, we haven't even touched on the expense ratios, which are really the only thing that actually impacts your final outcome more than the fund structure itself. Whether you pick an ETF or an index fund, the expense ratio must be under 0.1%. If you see a fund charging 0.5% or 1%, you are literally lighting your future on fire. I had a coworker who was paying 1.2% in fees on a managed fund, and when I helped him run the numbers, he realized he was going to lose over $110,000 in gains over the next 30 years just in fees. He switched to a low-cost ETF the next day. If you know someone who thinks their bank is taking care of their investments, send them this video. They need to see that number. Let's get real about your current situation. Millions of people are currently in exactly the spot you're in, worried about a recession, seeing headlines about market volatility, and feeling like the investing game is rigged against the little guy. But the truth is, the market doesn't care about the news cycle. It only cares about the long-term productivity of the companies inside those funds. Whether you choose an ETF or a mutual fund, the most important decision you will make isn't the ticker symbol, it's the consistency of your contribution. Tell me your biggest financial hurdle right now. Is it student loans, credit card debt, or just the fear of starting? I read every single comment, and I want to know what's keeping you up at night. We need to address the passive income trap. Everyone talks about passive income, but the only truly passive income is the dividend yield from a low-cost index fund. When you own a piece of the entire market, you own the biggest, most profitable companies on earth. When they make a profit, you get a slice. It's not magic, it's just ownership. If you buy an ETF, those dividends are often paid out quarterly, and you have to decide whether to reinvest them or take the cash. If you're struggling with debt, maybe that cash helps. But if you're in the growth phase, you should be using a DRIP, a dividend reinvestment plan, to automatically put that money back to work. If you're still feeling that I'm scared to start anxiety, here's my advice: pick the one that lets you sleep at night. If you're a perfectionist who wants to see the trade happen in real time, go with an ETF. If you're a set it and forget it person who knows that looking at the market makes you want to panic sell, choose an index mutual fund and automate your monthly investment. Don't let the jargon stop you. The difference between the two is really just about how they trade, not about how they grow. Your wealth is built on the time you stay in the market, not the timing of your trades. We're going to do a deep dive next week on how to actually pick your first fund without getting overwhelmed by the thousands of options out there. We'll title it the 3-Fund Portfolio Strategy for Beginners, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. You're doing the work just by listening to this. Most people never make it this far. They just stay stuck in the fear, and they keep paying the price in lost potential. You're already ahead of the game. Stay focused, keep the fees low, and remember that slow and steady isn't just a cliche, it's the only way to build real, lasting freedom. You've got this.